I think it started. Hi, everybody. My name is Axel Walda. I'm the founder and CEO of Walda. Walda Experience, maybe. That's a startup that has three projects within itself. The first one is Walda Training. That's the main one, the one that started everything. Then we have Waldemy. That's the second one. It's still not released. And then we have Walda AI. That's the project in which we are currently exploring AI and some applications in order to make life simpler. I'm, as you could possibly tell, no English native speaker. It's not my mother language, and it's actually the first video I'm recording in English. So I hope you can understand me, and I also hope you'll be patient regarding maybe some grammar mistakes or some pronunciation errors and that kind of things. And I'm doing it in English because, first of all, I'm expanding my English in order to make or to achieve everything I want to in the future. So I'm reading in English, I'm watching videos in English and that kind of stuff. And okay, so that's about it. Maybe some other video might be in Spanish because it's my mother language. And I also think there's a lot of people who are non-English speakers and that should have access to this kind of information. Okay, well, thank you for watching. So what I'm gonna do is starting to share my experiences with AI that I think could be really valuable because it's like documenting the process of my own research. Okay, so right now I'm working with GPT-4 because I'm a Plus member, I think it's called, or Pro member. So I paid a $20 monthly subscription in order to access earlier to their new features. But it's going to be released, I think, sometime within a week or 2 weeks. And there's this, I'm going to do this like for any newbie or new person or amateurs. So I'm going to explain some things by doing, okay? So what I'm doing right now is to build a process for getting to know people who are amazing and that could be an amazing match with my startup, because I want the very best people, the very best talent, and it's not easy to get to know all the people in the dimensions I like in one interview because of different things, and it's not easy for me to get to know all the people I'd like to. So I'm asking ChatGPT to make some process with me that's interactive. We are building it as a game. So the experience for the person who's not actually applying, because I don't want it to be some process in which they try to get in the company, but rather to get to know them so we can understand or get closer to the idea of it, if it would be a cultural match between the startup and the team and my vision and our goals and themselves. So I care about their experience, so it's being built as a game, an easy game in which they only have to use their mouse and click the options to make decisions that will evaluate each person, each aptitude I want to evaluate. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll get right on it. Okay, going to make this smaller. Okay, so what I did so far was writing some intro about who I am, what I'm looking for. I introduced myself. I told GPT-4 that I'm decided to build something amazing, something disruptive, something like the next Apple, SpaceX, PayPal, Stripe, in order to get ChatGPT-4 to understand my personal vision. And I wrote down the attitudes I value the most and that are non-negotiable in order to pick the very best people to build the team that I want to work with and that will uh, that they will appropriate the project like if it was their own and to build all of this. Also provided some, so we have empathy, intrinsic motivation, real teamwork, logical thinking and problem solving, and finding pleasure and motivation in challenges. I didn't write anything about technical skills. I mean, I actually did. I told GPT-4 that I do believe that technical skills are important, but any experienced person can have those. So that what I'm looking for is passion, hunger, and ambition to build the next world-changing startup. Okay, so I asked for it to be like a game, and so it gave me some uh, primary approximation to it with, let's see, because I was interacting a little bit so far, but I'm going to go into the process. So what I want to show you is how to maybe prompt engineer, like how to build a prompt that actually help you to get the output you actually are looking for. Okay, so because GPT-4 is not, or any GPT model is not going to like crush it at the first intent. It's going to iterate with your feedback in order to improve their output. So okay, it gave me first some games or some activities that were for, no, sorry, it was communication and invitation to participate, create compelling engaging job advertising. Oh no, first it gave me like some tips about how to achieve what I was looking for, but this was not accurate because it was like, okay, how should I do the communication and invitation to participate, like how to make the job offer, how to approach the application process, so have the applicants submit their resume and that kind of stuff, and then the challenge phase in which it provided me the instruction or the advice to build challenges that are enjoyable, which was what I was asking, and maybe uh, approach some examples like a team-based escape room or virtual escape room to evaluate teamwork, problem solving, and communication skills. But I don't want to have for it to give me some idea. I wanted to actually help me brainstorm each idea specifically, like to actually explain in depth and detail how could a game be made in order to evaluate those aptitudes. So what I tell to as a prompt was that the challenges should be individual because it was like a team member, a team play. I also told them like to create them from scratch, like from zero. So it should actually start each challenge by not assuming that I know how to do it. Okay. Then I told it I want them to be unique and that write them in detail and participate me in the process. So this was better because it actually divided each uh, evaluation criteria. Yeah, it actually divided each aptitude in a particular challenge and gave me the actual objective, and then write the rules or the instructions or maybe the description that it's going to uh, be given to that particular person. So I'm getting so accelerated because I don't know, maybe my English. I'm going to slow down a little bit. So the empathy story was, I mean, it actually invented the empathy story challenge, which was in order to assess the candidate's empathy and communication skills. So the candidate will be given a fictional scenario in which they have or they must imagine themselves as the character. So they have to write a story, explain the situation, their thoughts, their feelings, and it should be between 500 and 1,000 words, which is better than but it's far away from what I want because I don't want them to write an essay. So, and the rest of them were maybe similar because it had puzzles, it had, it's telling me to give them puzzles or word-based problem, but it's not actually telling me the instructions, the game itself. So let's move on. And my feedback my feedback was, let's go further with each challenge, starting with the first one. So I'm trying to focus just on the empathy one because I have a lot of feedback to give. And if I try to approach them all at the same time, it's going to be actually harder for me too. So maybe I could work with the first one. And when we understand what we are trying to achieve, then I can ask GPT-4 to copy the same process and apply it to the other aptitudes. So I told that writing a story is too much and they'll be lazy about it. So I asked it to transform the challenge into a computer game, provide instructions, and make the person have an amazing experience while doing it. I'm a true believer that they have to choose us too. So I want them to have an amazing experience while getting to know us. So I asked it to set every rule necessary so they won't be loose ends, and that the game should be simple because we are not evaluating computer skills. We are building a game, that we are building this challenge as a game just so it's more enjoyable and fun. It's not to actually build a game. That's not the main goal. It's just a means to make it more interactive. And I told it that the game should be played using just the mouse and clicking the decisions, not a writing game, not to use a keyboard. And to explain every single detail, starting with the goal, the rules, the time available, every decision that should be made, the instructions on how to interpret the result, and last of all, the code to build it. Because I was trying to get a code so I could then actually create the game. But let's not focus on that because it actually told me I can't give you the code right now because building a game is too hard. So let's see how we uh, went further. So it gave me actually a pretty better output because it told me for the first one we are going to call it the empathy quest. So it's actually building some actual game in the sense that it's building a story that goes through that game, so they are going to be able to experience a more immersive experience, a more immersive, mm, yeah, experience. So it's actually building the whole thing. Okay, so it's not just like, okay, now I'm going to challenge you in order to measure your empathy. No, it's the empathy quest. It's a game, so you have a mission. Actually, the objective is to assess the candidate's empathy and decision making in a fun, engaging, and interactive way. So it gave me the overview, like the description maybe. It says that it's a point and click decision making game, so it's just with the mouse, where the player takes on the role of empathetic character, navigating various challenging situations in a fictional world. So the choices will demonstrate their understanding of the emotions and needs of every uh, character in the game. So the rules are explaining this, but in order to give them to the actual player, like just using the mouse, the multiple scenarios. So we're going to skip this in order to, I want to get to the present time when I'm actually giving some more feedback that's written here, but I decided to maybe record this process. So the scenarios are a coworker is struggling with a project deadline, and the player must choose between offering help, giving words of encouragement, or ignoring the situation. I mean, so each one would be a scenario, and they have three options to choose. Second one, third one. It gives me the instructions of the game, and it tells me some vague approach to how to interpret the results, but I don't want to interpret them myself. I want to be given a guide. So this was yesterday, and I leave it for the day. So when I came back, I wanted to be sure before writing a feedback that the connection was still on and that it wasn't going to maybe break. So I asked a question just to see if it was still going and if it had like the history there. So it told me yes, and I gave them this prompt that the scenarios are interesting, but they are too simplistic because in this option it's like, okay, if you have a coworker struggling with a project, you have to choose between offering help, giving words of encouragement, or ignoring the situation. And I told it that it's too simplistic because it's obvious that nobody's going to choose do nothing because they know it's their empathy that's being judged. I apologize for my grammar errors. So maybe go around it and make it more subtle so they can speculate and rewrite the scenarios following these instructions, and actually to add two more scenarios in order to evaluate the player's empathy, because there were three scenarios. So it actually, I want you to see how we actually went deeper and deeper in each challenge, because we started with just a vague approach. Then it gave me the empathy story challenge. But it was, I mean, it actually went deeper because it separated the challenges, but it was just the empathy story challenge. Then we went to the empathy quest, in which I have rules, in which I have 3 scenarios, but each scenario is just a ballot. But right now, each scenario, it's not a ballot, it's a whole theme, a whole section, and each scenario has its own ballots. So it's going deeper and deeper. So right now we have a deadline dilemma. So it's actually better because we are going to make the person to actually have some decision to make that's not too obvious. So if they decide something, they're going to have to give something, to let something aside, like the cost of opportunity. I mean, I'd like to choose them all, but I can't. So we are going to assess how the person prioritize their choices. Okay, I'm not going to stop in every single ballot, but we have, for example, so right now we have 5 scenarios, and each one is giving an instruction that the player's coworker is struggling to meet a project deadline due to some unexpected personal issues. So the player must decide between offering to take on some of the coworkers' workload to help them manage their time, encourage them to speak to their manager, or suggesting to focus on the most critical tasks. Okay. So I told it that that was better, which I think it's actually pretty important because we need to give both positive and negative feedback. I mean, constructive feedback in order to get better, but we also need to let it know that we are more pleased with what it's returning to us. So I told it that that's better, but now please write them down as the instructions for the player. I mean, so it doesn't say the player must decide between, but rather you have to decide what to do. So because I don't want to actually have to edit this, I want it to be ready to go. So, and I basically, in other words, speak to the player itself. So it told me, of course, and now it's not. Look at this difference. Now the deadline dilemma is your coworker is struggling while it was the player's co-working. So right now I have something that I could actually give to the person I'm going to interview. So it's all in first person for the player. Okay, I think we are okay. Give it last feedback and we are live, maybe. So I told it perfect. Now please provide me the specific instructions in order to measure the results. Like how, okay, so if it's going to be a score, set the score for each option, and then provide me a list of categories in which they could fit regarding their score. Each category's name should be a character that reflects the essence of that particular category, but also be catchy and fun to read. That's because I want myself and my team to enjoy this activity too. So then provide the explanation of what that character means and what could be expected from that person in the future. So what I'm trying to achieve is that ChatGPT-4 gives me not only the instructions but also the logic behind it, and how to score it and what that score is going to mean. But I asked it to be more user experience friendly. So the output was, okay, so this one is 3 points, this one is 2 points, this one is 1 point. Those names are just the like short way to write the whole answer. And it actually told me, okay, the maximum score, the maximum score a player can achieve, it's 15 points. So based on their total score, you could categorize them into these 4 categories. So now we have the empathy superhero. So, and it gives feedback to the employee. Your incredible ability to understand and support others makes you an invaluable asset to any team. Your empathetic nature will enable you to build strong relationships. So even in the 0 points, it's not going to give some destructive feedback that's going to make that person feel bad. It's actually thinking about that person. It's being empathic because it says you're an empathy novice. It seems that empathy is an area where you could benefit from growth and development. It's not saying you don't have empathy. It's saying you could be better. Consider, and it's actually providing um, like advice in order to seek resources to better understand the feelings. Okay, so I like this. So I asked if it was sure about the scores because it was all like 3-2-1, 3-2-1, 3-2-1, and it was actually suspicious besides this one. So it basically told me yes, like it could be, it's usual, it's useful, and it was on purpose. It wasn't just random. It's telling me, of course, that we should actually like mm, 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 like this, to supplement it with other methods such as interviews or I don't know, talking to the person. Great. So I asked if maybe giving some more options to each scenario might help making the score more accurate. Because if we have 3 options, we can still to fail one or not to guess the higher one, the one that scored higher, could actually lower a lot the person's score. So maybe if we have some more options, it's going to be more accurate. And it told me basically yes, so that we could actually do it. So right now we are in the present time, and I'm asking, okay, could we make it 5 options for each scenario? And please randomize the order of the options. So they won't be ordered by its score because I don't want them to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't want it to be a pattern. And also, I'm asking it to update the scoring for each option and to update the list of characters we could get as a result, because now we'll have different scorings. And then I'm trying to ask that please provide for each character, please provide both an explanation made for the player themselves as the one you already wrote, and an explanation made for myself as an evaluator. this won't be seen by the player, and it should give me more information about what to expect from that person in the future regarding my startup. Okay, so let's see what it gives us. So it's updating with 5 options each, randomized order, and updating scoring system. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the coworker to overtime in order to complete the task, do nothing, and assume the coworker will handle it. This is maybe the same trouble we had, that nobody is going to click this because they are going to speculate. So we can ask for it to be replaced. Maybe we shouldn't have any 0 points answer, or maybe we're going to accept it and accept the fact that they are not going to choose this one. And if they do, maybe it's a red flag. So we might leave it. So now we have it randomized, and let's see. Okay, it's not done. This is GPT-4, and GPT-4 is slower than GPT-3. Okay, it's done. The maximum score, it's 20. And let's see. Okay, so see, it's giving me the player explanation, which is probably the same as before, and it's giving me some explanation to myself. It says, empathy superheroes are candidates who have demonstrated exceptional empathy and understanding of others' needs. In your startup, these individuals are likely to create a positive working environment, foster collaboration, and contribute to a strong company culture. These candidates should be considered strong contenders for your team. So you see, it's not just giving some prompt, it's actually maybe, and this is my personal point of view, because I haven't seen prompt engineering videos, but I've seen people using GPT, and I've learned that maybe this is the best way to achieve it. I think it stopped. I don't know why, because it didn't end. So usually when this happens, I think maybe please continue. Okay, so it's gone. I've seen that David Shapiro, that's some pretty cool. I don't know how he calls himself. Maybe machine learning engineer, maybe data scientist. I don't know. But he said that if it stops, maybe it's better for you to actually send this prompt again. But I think it's going to be good. So, for example, the empathy explorer, let's see the evaluation explanation. Have a basic understanding of empathy, but there's significant room for growth. In your startup, these candidates may require additional coaching and support to develop their empathy skills. They could still contribute positively to the team with the right guidance and encouragement, but you should consider their potential growth when evaluating their fit for your team. I want to see how what info it provides, yeah, for the novice. So They demonstrated limited empathy skills and may struggle to understand the feelings and needs of others. In your startup, they might have difficulties fostering positive relationships with team members and may contribute to a less cohesive team dynamic. While it's possible for this candidate to improve their empathy skills over time, you should carefully consider whether they are a good fit for your team and if you have the resources to support their growth in this area. You can, yeah. So this is actually pretty good, and you see, it's never been disrespectful. It's actually telling me that something that's actually true, because somebody could not be as empathic as some other person, and it's not bad itself. It's just what it is. But what GPT-4 is telling me is like, what you should consider, it's not the fact of that person not being good, rather if that person is going to be a good match for my startup, and if I as a leader have the resources and the empathy and the emotional uh, tools in order to help that person improve. Because as a leader, I have a really strong responsibility on helping them progress, okay, to progress. So I think what we have so far is pretty good. We could actually ask for maybe some, I don't know, maybe if we are going to actually use this, not just in order to look for new people, but also to assess the actual team empathy levels, because this is new. I haven't done this. So I could actually ask for a roadmap for each kind of character in order to uh, help them progress and be more empathic. And it's going to work, I know. I mean, I could ask maybe for if I decide to hire an empathy novice, how which would be a good start for them to learn more empathy skills. And I know it's going to work. I'm not doing it because I want to keep going with the other scenarios. I don't want it to be dirty or messy. I think this is going to be helpful for for you to understand and get a better approach. So it's not actually difficult to do this. And I'm going to add a bonus that's like, okay, great. It's not hard to do this. You can actually speak in Spanish to it, but as I was already speaking in English, that's why I made this video in English. But maybe the bonus is it's not hard to assess this. It's practice, of course, and you have to play with the GPT in order to get more accurate results. But maybe there are some people that haven't seen how to actually get in this website. Maybe it's too simple, but if you don't know, you don't know it. So let's see how you could actually get inside. You could actually write chat GPT, I'm sorry, and ignore the first one. GPT is a product of OpenAI, so this is actually the official website. And we can go on try GPT and we are inside. But remember that I'm already logged in, so okay, so I don't want to lose this because it's too good. So I'm going to save it. Yeah, this is where I started today. I'm saving this. I mean it's supposed to save the information or the conversations, but sometimes it happened to me that it didn't, so I don't want to risk it. And for example, I could open a new tab as an incognito mode. So I should share a different window. Okay, and I could go for chat GPT. Okay, so GPT, it's the same, blah, blah, blah. And I get inside, I go try GPT, and now I'm not logged in. Yeah, so, okay. Okay, so this is important. GPT is free for use. This is also very important. But as it's free and it's pretty popular, it has like a capacity, and when it's full, it won't let you use it until it's it has some room for you, unless you pay. If you pay, you have priority and you won't get kicked off when you're trying to use it. But it's not necessary. You have to maybe try in 5 minutes, maybe in 1 hour. But usually, when I'm trying to use it, I find it available because I didn't used to pay before the subscription. But there's other way. Maybe I'd like to know if maybe Chat GPT-3 is available. Maybe not. And no, I don't think so. I think it's the same. Yeah. So it tells us that it's a capacity right now, but when it's not, you could, for example, subscribe if you want to pay, or eventually when you try it again, you are going to have to sign up. They give some information, your email, and then you'll be inside and you can start talking. So I don't know if I'm going to do another video. Maybe it would be good for you if there is some you actually watching this to let me know if you'd like to see more of this, of how I'm interacting, and what would you like to see. I don't know if I'm going to do that because I'm currently exploring different ways to give my experience and knowledge to the society back. And I'm trying, for example, I record a podcast episode. I'm also writing things. I go from English to Spanish, and I'm still trying to decide if I if I'm actually going to decide. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm going to be switching, and I'm probably going to be switching between different types of content like videos, podcasts. I don't know. So if you have something you'd like to see, if you really appreciate this, I'd love to know, because if I am doing this, it's for people to actually enjoy it and for people to actually find it useful. So it's maybe my main goal would be to receive feedback, both positive and constructive, in order to get better, but also if you're enjoying it. And if you do that, I'm probably going to make more videos, but if nobody's seeing them, maybe it's going to be more spontaneous. I don't know. So thank you, and see you next time or not. I don't know. Bye. Okay, uncomfortable moment in which I have to stop the recording. Bye.